The cul-de-sac of Willow Creek Drive hummed with the sleepy rhythm of suburban life on a crisp Saturday morning in late spring. Birds flitted between budding trees, sprinklers hissed in syncopated bursts, and the faint aroma of burnt toast drifted from someone's kitchen. It was the kind of quiet that felt earned, a fragile piece woven into the fabric of a neighborhood where everyone knew just enough about each other to nod politely over trimmed hedges. But beneath that calm veneer, something was brewing, something that would ignite Willow Creek Drive in ways no one could have predicted. At house number 19, the Carter family's two-story colonial stood unassuming, its white siding pristine, its lawn manicured to HOA perfection. Inside, Emily Carter was coaxing her twins into mismatched socks while her husband, Tom, wrestled with a malfunctioning coffee maker. Their golden retriever, Rusty, sprawled across the kitchen floor, oblivious to the chaos. It was a typical morning until it wasn't. At 9:47 a.m., a thin wisp of smoke curled from the garage, unnoticed at first, until it thickened into a dark plume that clawed its way skyward. By the time Emily smelled it, the flames had already begun licking at the drywall. She shrieked, shoving the twins toward the front door as Tom grabbed Rusty's collar and dialed 911. Within minutes, neighbors spilled onto the street. Mark and Gwen from number 21, tinkering with his vintage motorcycle. Lila Torres, mid-choreography for her latest Instagram reel. And Old Man Hayes, the grizzled ex-Marine who muttered at the squirrels from his porch. The fire engine's wail sliced through the air as it barreled around the corner, tires screeching to a halt in front of the Carter home. Firefighters leapt into action with practiced precision. One hooked the hose to the hydrant, another smashed through the garage door, and a third barked orders to the growing crowd. The blaze roared, orange tongues snapping at the roofline, but the crew had it in hand her, so it seemed. Enter Marjorie Hensley, the iron-fisted president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. Marjorie wasn't just a figurehead. She was a force of nature, a former corporate lawyer who'd traded boardroom battles for suburban supremacy. At 58, she carried herself like a queen, her silver hair pinned into a severe bun, her beige blazer pressed to razor-sharp perfection. She ruled Willow Creek with an obsession for order, mailboxes aligned, lawns edged, and God help anyone who dare park a trailer in their driveway. That morning, she emerged from her mock Tudor stronghold at number 15, clutching a pair of gleaming pruning shears and a clipboard stacked with violation notices. Her eyes narrowed as she took in the scene. The fire truck's hulking frame straddling her beloved cobblestone walkway, its hose snaking across the petunia beds she'd spent 3 years cultivating. The firefighters were too busy to notice her at first. They hauled equipment, shouted commands, and dragged the hose into position as water surged through it, aimed at the Carter's garage. Neighbors watched, breathless, as the flames fought back, spitting embers into the sky. But Marjorie didn't see a family in peril or heroes at work. She saw chaos, and she wouldn't stand for it. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" she bellowed, storming past the yellow caution tape like a general breaching enemy lines. Her voice was a serrated blade, cutting through the crackle of the fire and the hiss of the hose. A young firefighter, sweat-streaked and startled, turned to face her. "Ma'am, we've got a fire here. Step back. Step back." Marjorie's nostrils flared, her pruning shears glinting in the sunlight. "You're destroying HOA-approved landscaping. That truck is parked on a decorative pathway unauthorized, unpermitted, and in violation of at least 6 bylaws." She waved her clipboard like a battle standard, her face flushed with righteous fury. "I spent $4,000 on those petunias, and you're crushing them like they're weeds." The firefighter blinked, incredulous. "Ma'am, we're trying to save a house. Lives are at stake." "Lives?" Marjorie snapped. "You're the ones endangering this community with your reckless parking. You could have used the access road." Her gaze darted to the hose, taut and pulsing with water, its yellow coil draped across her precious flower bed. Her lips curled into a snarl. And that hat's the final straw. Before anyone could react, she pivoted on her heel, marched to her garage, and returned with the shears raised like a guillotine. The crowd froze, mouths agape, as Marjorie knelt beside the hose, her knees sinking into the mulch. With a single VY snip, she severed it clean in two. Water erupted in a geyser, soaking her blazer and spraying the nearest firefighter, who slipped and cursed as he hit the ground. The hose flailed like a wounded snake, its pressure lost, and the team scrambled to stem the flood. But it was too late. The seconds of delay were a death sentence for the Carter home. Flames surged through the garage, swallowing the roof in a roar of heat and smoke. The front wall buckled, then collapsed, sending a cascade of sparks into the air. Emily Carter's scream pierced the chaos as Rusty barked frantically at her side. The neighborhood stood in stunned silence, the acrid stench of burning wood mingling with their disbelief. Marjorie rose, brushing wet dirt from her knees, her smirk a grotesque mask of triumph. "There," she said, as if she'd just pruned an overgrown shrub. "That'll teach you to respect the rules." The firefighters didn't waste breath arguing. They called for backup, rerouted a second hose, and fought the blaze with what they had left. By the time the fire was out, the Carter home was a smoldering shell, half the structure gone, the rest blackened and uninhabitable. The twins' bedroom was ash, Tom's prized VY collection melted into a puddle, and Emily's wedding photos were reduced to charred flakes. The family stood by their mailbox, hollow-eyed, as Rusty whimpered at their feet. Marjorie, meanwhile, retreated to her porch, clipboard in hand, already drafting a memo about proper emergency vehicle protocol. The news hit the local station by sundown. Grainy cell phone footage of Marjorie snipping the hose aired on the 6 p.m. broadcast, sandwiched between a segment on a missing goat and a weather update. The clip spread like wildfire. Online Twitter dubbed her Shears of Doom. Reddit's r/petty revenge subreddit crowned her a legend of entitlement, and a meme of her chasing a firefighter with shears superimposed on a Jurassic Park velociraptor racked up thousands of shares. The HOA issued a tepid statement. "We regret the incident and are reviewing procedures." No apology, no accountability, because Marjorie was the HOA and everyone knew it. But Willow Creek wasn't about to let slide. The next morning, the air was thick with smoke and something else resolve. Mark and Gwynn, a quiet software engineer with a knack for digging into code and corruption, called an impromptu meeting in his garage. Lila Torres, whose dance videos had a modest but loyal following, brought her phone and a plan. Old Man Hayes showed up with a thermos of black coffee and a grunt that said he'd seen worse in but wasn't impressed. Rounding out the group were Beth Russo, a paralegal with a binder of HOA bylaws, and Jamie Carterno, relation to the VY Timsey single mom who'd once been fined by Marjorie for a too festive Halloween wreath. "She cut a damn hose," Lila said, pacing the oil-stained floor. "Who does that?" "Someone who thinks petunias matter more than people," Beth replied, flipping through her binder. "And I've got proof she's been skimming dues. Look, Dula 6,000 for decorative irrigation enhancements. That's her backyard fountain." Mark tapped away at his laptop, eyes narrowed. "She's got a shell company, 2 Hensley Green Solutions. Runs it out of her shed. Double bills the HOA for every shrub she plants." Hayes snorted. "She's going to wish she'd stuck to pruning roses." They didn't name it yet, but Operation Thorn was born a slow burn rebellion fueled by outrage and a touch of dark humor. It started small. A single garden gnome appeared on Marjorie's lawn overnight, its painted grin mocking her from beneath her azaleas. The next day, 2 more joined it. By week's end, a dozen gnomes encircled her fountain, one sporting a tiny firefighter helmet. Marjorie ripped them up each morning, her curses echoing down the street, but they kept reappearing: sunglasses, capes, even a gnome with a sign reading "Hose Lives Matter." The pranks escalated. Beth, with her legal know-how, filed a fake HOA newsletter announcing Marjorie's National Shear Safety Award. Lila choreographed a flash mob of kids in firefighter costumes, twirling hose-like ribbons in front of Marjorie's driveway to the tune of blaring sirens. Mark rigged a motion sensor speaker near her mailbox that played fire engine honks every time she stepped outside. Marjorie retaliated with a blizzard of citations, excessive gnome placement, unauthorized auditory disturbances, reckless festive VY, but the neighborhood was done cowering. At the next HOA meeting, the room was packed standing room only, a far cry from the usual handful of retirees nibbling stale danishes. Marjorie strode in, shoulders squared, expecting deference. Instead, Mark took the floor, projector whirring as he unveiled a slideshow of damning EVY denke. Doctor budgets, personal receipts buried in HOA expenses, a doula $3,000 consulting fee for a non-existent firm. Gasps rippled through the crowd as he revealed her fountain's upgrades LED lights, a marble cherub, a heated pump all paid for with their dues. This is libel, Marjorie shrieked, slamming her clipboard down. I've kept this neighborhood pristine. You've kept it prisoner, Beth shot back, holding up public records. And it's all legal, EVY denke. A vote of no confidence was called. Hands trembled as they rose, the tally teetering on a knife's edge. Marjorie served VY ved by a single voter-owned loyalist, timid Mrs. Grayson, who shrank under the room's glare. She strutted out, chin high, but the cracks were widening. She wasn't in VY and Cybele anymore. The rebellion hit its stride at a block party hosted by Hayes. Marjorie's cease and desist notices went ignored as grills flared, kids raced, and Lila live-streamed the defiance. The menu was a jab, charred justice burgers, hose-wrapped hot dogs, ember-kissed ribs, and the centerpiece was a 15-foot inflatable fire truck, complete with a slide and siren soundtrack. Marjorie called the cops. They arrived, shrugged, and grabbed burgers. When she screamed about harassment, an officer deadpanned, "Ma'am, you cut a hose. They're just expressing themselves." Her counterattacks grew desperate. Citations piled up, lawn too joyful, excessive slide usage, unapproved inflatable menace, but Mark's AI bot, coded in a caffeine-fueled frenzy, auto-appealed every one, drowning her in paperwork. Beth leaked proof Marjorie had tried to install cameras targeting Hayes' porch, Lila's yard, and the Carters' rebuild driveway. Then came the fire inspector's notice her fountain's wiring was a hazard, shut off pending re-VYEW. Marjorie stood by her dry, silent fountain, her empire crumbling. The final blow was a fundraiser Lila launched. Support our heroes, spite a tyrant. It soared past due lot $250,000, and on a blazing Saturday, a flatbed rolled in with a 35-foot inflatable fire truck bigger, louder, parked right on community land. Kids swarmed it, neighbors cheered, and a banner unfurled. Willow Creek remembers. Marjorie's protests were drowned out by laughter and siren funk. The police, amused, waved off her complaints. Days later, a package arrived at her door. Inside, a framed photo of the Carter fire, her shears in the foreground, embers glowing, a halved shear, and her HOA removal notice. She was done stripped of power, her house a mausoleum of her reign. She moved a month later, blinds shut until a for sale sign sprouted. Relief settled over Willow Creek, not with fanfare, but with quiet triumph. The Carters rebuilt, bolstered by neighbors who became family. A bronze firefighter statue hose in hand, dogged a side rows in the park, dubbed Captain Hose-a-Lot by the kids. Marjorie resurfaced miles away, already nagging her new HOA, but her neighbors therefore warned greeted her with fire-themed welcome mats and a watchful ex-chief next door. Back on Willow Creek, potlucks replaced citations, and a gold-plated hose nozzle sat in the community halla relic of the day. They turned tyranny into legend. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.